Nick Sirianni Live, presented by Premier Orthopedic.
Offensively and defensively.
Yeah, they play with good fundamentals, play really hard, got good players, well coached, a lot of respect for this team, and the players and coaches that they have. You know, worked with Marcus Brady before. I know how good of a coach he is. Nick Hardwick played for us when I was with the Chargers. He was an outstanding football mind. And an outstanding player. So, and obviously Coach Harbaugh has been a highly successful coach at, every different area and every different place that he's ever been. So I have a lot of respect for him as well.
Nick, after the last game, Jalen mentioned that it's getting harder and harder to run the push play. Do you agree with that? And how do you go about trying to protect and save a play that's been so useful for you guys?
Yeah, just like kind of we do with anything. Like they adjust, you adjust. You try to make compliments off of it as many as you can to keep them honest. All the different things that you do to help. It's I know it's a unique play that gets a lot of attention and a lot of talk. But you handle it the very same way. You still teach the fundamentals the same way you would in an inside zone and the adjustments that come off of that and the things that the defense is doing and how you can kind of combat that.
What have you noticed from Saquon as he's going through his season, obviously not having the numbers necessarily that he would want, but how he's handling his business and going about trying to troubleshoot?
Yeah, he's the best. He's the same guy. I love consistency, and he's the same person every single day, week in, week out, year to year. I think that's why you see that, why his teammates, his coaches, everybody that comes in contact with him has the kind of respect that they have for him, because his consistency doesn't waver based off of anything that happens on the field. It's about his process and about how he goes about his work, and you love that out of your players.
Nick, in the episode of Hard Knocks, you were quoted during practice, like joking that the sky's falling on the outside. I was wondering what you learned during your time here about navigating the team when maybe from the outside there's a lot of anger with losses and stuff like that.
Yeah, obviously we get angry when we lose, and there are so many different things that can grab your attention, and your job and your focus has to be on where you are and really, to be quite frank, the best thing to do is be able to block everything out. I know that's not necessarily the reality of our world with social media, with how much we have access to everything like that, but it is being able to block it out as much as you can. For me, I don't focus on anything other than what's happening in this building. It's not good for me if I read it. It's not good, and I say that in both when you're winning and when you're losing. It's not good for me to read, any of your tweets, any of a fan's tweets, any of a if is it still, I don't even know if it's called tweets, but any article in anything, because all that can do, and so I'm able to do that. I didn't grow up in the social media world, and so I'm able to do that and just stay locked in. But I also understand that it's the world we live in. So, but your job is to be able to, if you let anything steal your focus or your joy or anything away from your attention of what you need to do that week, every little thing that takes your attention away is one little less thing that you have to give towards the game that you're playing. And and there's obviously other things that we have responsibilities for, our families, right? Our faith, our football. I mean, that's how I live, faith, family, football. And so you try to stay locked into those things and truly be locked in on where you are. And that's my message consistently. And I know that if I'm not doing it, then how do I expect them to?
Nick, when you've made
goes up to game day with all the prep that goes there, the workflow, when you put in first and second down and such. Kevin was saying yesterday that hasn't changed over the many by y'all are reviewing that. How much did that change over the offseason with the new coordinator, and what goes into that review process? How would you evaluate that?
Your process is constantly tweaked. Now you have the guts of it that you have, but then naturally things get tweaked. you always are trying to, you put yourself into, like, if my process is good, that doesn't guarantee you anything, but it puts you in the best position to succeed each and every week. So you're constantly tweaking processes. Hey, oh man, they did this, and maybe we never ever looked at that before. Okay, now you need to look at that now. And so it like, and I say that because the process actually grows as you continue on. It's like something that happened to us when I was at the Chargers in 2015 or 14. I won't get into what it is. It's like, maybe we got to look at that every week, and then that gets added. And naturally, through your course of your career as a coach, you have that process written out. You have it highly in tune, and naturally things, tweak as you go throughout it. But the guts of it stay pretty similar, because the guts of it stay pretty similar, but there are constant tweaks.
Nick?
So to understand, guys, like, just for example, like, this red zone situation this week was something that we might need to look at. You might change a day or a time or how much you evaluate into it. I'm just trying to
Maybe
understand.
not a time, but there are definitely days that you go in and say, okay, I'm devoting 8 hours to red zone, and then that day it takes 8.5 or 9 or 10 or 5. You know what I mean? Like it just depends on, your schedule may be this, but we have the ability as coaches to stay later. We don't have to punch a clock. We don't get overtime for anything. Although I did get overtime when I was at IUP as a football coach. That was nice. I don't think they do that anymore, but there was some anyway. But no, it just depends.
When you've made changes late in the season, whether it be a coordinator change or even something small that may have benefited the team, how has that influenced when you looked at the team during this mini bye about weighing whether to make a change and whether it's worth it or not?
Yeah, every scenario you ever go through, it's our job, whether it's a win, a loss, a positive scenario, a negative scenario, is always to learn from each and every scenario. So, and that's what, that's how constant growth happens. And so all those past experiences, I wish I knew everything I knew today when I started in 2021. But naturally, your experience, same kind of like with the game plan, your experiences dictate different things. So yeah, you use them. You use all those experiences. You use all those things to help you make the best of it. But your sole focus is always going to be, like, at the heart of it. You can change philosophies. You can change different things. You can change schemes. You can change processes. But I don't. But yeah, they all go hand in hand. Okay, what I was getting at, sorry, I lost train of thought for a second, is you're always trying to do what's best for the football team.
Nick, you had a report out there. You had a report out yesterday that you guys put a claim in on Slay. Do you feel like the need to talk to any players after that? Because maybe the perception could be, hey, they don't think we're good enough here. Do you ever feel the need to?
You always are in constant communication with your guys about everything. And one thing you're always doing in this room is you're correcting things that aren't up to standard, and you're praising things that are up to standard. So I think the guys have a real good feel of how we obviously the communication, but obviously, and they have a good feel of how we appreciate the things that they do because we emphasize those things. So, but communication is really key.
Nick, you have
What perspective do you have of the man, the player side?
I'm sorry.
What perspective do you have of Jordan Mailata, the man, regarding the player side of it?
Yeah. Outstanding leader. A great desire to help others, a great desire to help his teammates, an infectious personality that you crave to be around. Guys that have, he just got a great personality. You just want to be around a guy like that. Highly talented man, and I mean, it's pretty amazing. His story is pretty amazing. Highly talented in everything that I feel like he tries. God's blessed him abundantly, and we were just talking about, I'm like, I've coached 2 players that have been on The Masked Singer, Jordan Mailata, and I'm like, can you name the other, does anyone know the other person?
Boss.
Huh? I didn't coach him.
No, Mass Singer.
We play him this week. Keenan Allen. Yeah. So I'm like, wow, I've been around these highly talented guys, not just in football, but just, yeah, the best way to say that is God has blessed Jordan abundantly in his life with all the talents that he's been given, and just somebody you want to be around.
Hey, Nick,
You got time for 2 more?
you guys have been outscored by like 30 points in the fourth quarter. You've outscored your opponent in each of the first 3 quarters. Any thoughts on why the fourth quarters have not gone well?
Yeah, you know, you're looking at the flow of the game of how that goes, and you know, and all those different things. Again, some of these answers, like when you're trying to fix things, like it is hard. Like some of the answers aren't clear. You got to dig, and you got to fight to find them, and sometimes they're not abundantly, you know, they're completely clear. I said abundantly, like for the first time ever, and now I'm putting it into areas where it doesn't even fit. But no, it's just being consistent as coaches and as players throughout the entire game. You know, I never feel like when we've had a lead that we've been conservative, and I haven't felt the other way, like we haven't been trying like our crazy like to catch up when we've been behind or tied or anything. So it's just the consistency from, you know, coaching. It's just the consistency from playing, you know, the execution, and you're just trying to put together you know, that's what our goal is, to be playing our best football by the end of the year. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. And, you know, obviously we're on a 2-game losing streak right now, and it's just about getting back to that confidence and that consistency.
Last one.
Nick, when there's something like that happens with Kevin Patullo, how do you handle that behind closed doors?
Yeah, everything I handle behind closed doors is behind closed doors. You know, but at the end of the day, you just try to be there for people. You know, I always, Gus Bradley used to always say, give strength to the people that need it. And I always thought that was really good. You know, pick up people that need it, and that's your job as a leader, is to do that. And that's why the relationship portion of it is so important, because there are ups, there are downs, and relationships, like that's why Together is our first one, Tough Detailed Together, our third one. But you know, some of the closest relationships you have happen because of, you know, some of the negative things that you go through, right? There's so many, again, I've said before, like, I'm thankful for adversities, because one, it helps you get better. If you allow it, it helps you get better, right? If you don't stay on the ground and you pick yourself up and you learn from those things, it helps you get better. And then the other thing is, you know, it brings people together. Adversities bring people together. Now, I have a tight knit family that I grew up with. You know, as a kid, with 2 loving parents and great older brothers that show me the way. But I think if you asked any of them, we're close as a family because of the struggles that we had to go through with my dad having cancer. And so, you know, you always want to look at negative things. You always want to be there for guys, and then how do you use adversity to bring people closer together?
All right, thanks. We got to get out of here.
Nick Sirianni Live, presented by Premier Orthopedic.